G'day viewers, today I'm going to do a refining. Now there's one nugget in there, one button that I did a long time ago for this guy, and then the rest of it that's in there is all natural nuggets found in the ground, and Australian gold naturally from the ground is around 98%, and I'm assuming that the nugget I did for him, it was a while back, and it didn't get triple refined or double refined or anything. It's not pure. You can tell it's the same color as all the rest of it. So I'm going to refine all this for him and get it to pure gold. So I'm going to show you what the weight is. I've got these brand new scales I've never opened before, and it's good I take this when I go prospecting, so that if I find anything, it's got the dome over the top to stop the wind from affecting the weight. And I haven't had a chance to use them yet. Little lid that lifts up so you can put the gold in. And I'll get my mate to pour it on there because I'm trying to hold the camera, and we'll put that gold. I don't need the lid right now in here, so turn it on with the little dish on there. So it should, is it 0? Yep. Okay, so we've got, what's this say? I can't see. 2.12 grams. That's our start weight. And I'll go and refine it and see what we end up with. I got the gold in a beaker with some aqua regia. So I've basically I've put that much hydrochloric acid and just a pipette full of nitric. That's all you need for now. If you put too much, you end up with too much nitric, and then you have to denox it and waste it, and it's too expensive to waste. If I need more, if the reaction stops, all I do is put a tiny bit more in. It's far better to do it that way than to put too much in. You don't worry about any of your recipes, 5 to 1 or whatever it is. That's old school. The new way is the incrementally addition. So now I'm going to put a lid on and put it on heat, and we'll start dissolving the gold. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's still a little bit of gold left. It hasn't yet dissolved. So I'm going to put a tiny bit more nitric acid in. I'm only going to use a pipette. I'll put another, that's about 3 mils maybe. I'll put that in there and put it back on the heat, and we'll see how that goes. So just keep adding small amounts at a time until it's all dissolved. I'm not sure if you can see, there's a little bit of gold left there still. And it's reduced down a fair bit from being on heat. So I'm going to rejuvenate it with some more hydrochloric acid, rehydrate it. And you see that bit of gold down there. And I'll give it another pipette, not a full pipette, probably just if I can even find my pipette. Here it is. That's half a pipette. A full pipette's about 5 mil, so that looks like it'll be about 4 mil. Now if I have put a little bit too much, like say it only takes 3 mil and I've put 4, then 1 mil over is next to nothing. It's going to be really easy to denox, and it's not going to be a huge waste. But if I had done like 5 or 10 mils in a recipe, as they say you're supposed to do so many mils, then that's just a waste. But that little bit of gold there, I think 4 mils would be a good amount. So I'll put it back on the heat. I'm going out now, so I'll just leave it on low, and by the end of the day that should easily have been dissolved. If I was staying home, I would put it up on high heat and it'd be done in 10 minutes, but I'll just let that sit on just a warm simmer until I'm finished doing what I'm doing. I'll come back later. Alright, so the gold's dissolved, and I've got the only clean beaker I've got is a large one, but that doesn't matter. I've got 2 cotton balls in the funnel, so I'm going to filter the solution, and while that's filtering I'm going to be mixing up some iron sulfate. I won't need a lot, just a little bit will do. So I'll be back when it's filtered. Well, I just washed a nice small beaker, makes it easier, and it's coming out really nice. So now I'm just rinsing out the gold juice that's inside the cotton balls, and that'll be ready to go. And the iron sulfate is filtering as we speak to remove any iron filings and so on. And this is nice and cold, the solution, so I should be able to drop the gold with the iron sulfate very soon. I'll be back when the other stuff's filtered, and we'll see what we get and what sort of colour change. I'm assuming it'll be nice, so we'll have a look. Oh, the gold juice looks amazing. I'm giving the iron sulfate another filter. This time, instead of using filter paper, I'm using cotton balls, just to make sure I get all the iron out. And then once that's filtered, I'll mix some hydrochloric acid with it to make it go green, and then it's ready to use. While the rest of that filters, I've got enough here to use for now. With some hydrochloric acid in. It kind of goes a greenish colour. The book says to do that, but I've used it without the hydrochloric and it still works perfectly fine, but for the sake of it, it doesn't look as green as what other people do. Like I've seen the eBay refiner and he puts it, and it goes like lime green. The stuff I've got doesn't seem to do that. In any case, I've done what the book says, and this will work, it always does. So you always got to double your quantity of solution. So there's that half a beaker, I've got to fill the beaker up. Whether you're using SMB or iron solution, it's always the same. You've got to double the solution. See, it is a bit green as it comes out, and look, the gold's changed already. You see the gold falling out of solution? Straight away it changed colour. I'll fill it up. As this comes out, it's kind of like a greenish colour. So let that sit now, and I'll combine this with the rest of this once it's filtered. Just let this sit, and I'll put a lid on it. I'll get dust in there, and I'll come back later. Oh, the gold's dropped and it looks quite nice. A nice amount on the bottom. I'll pour this up into my gold wash flask. Temporary gold stock pot, whichever you want to call it. Needs to be cleaned up, that's for sure. So I'll do the first of several hot water washes. Seeing as though it's very what's the word, colloidal, I'd say it's going to take quite a while to settle out. Because it's very, 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 very fine. Usually it would have settled straight away. Usually when you're using iron sulfate, it cleans up quite well, but this time round it's really, really colloidal. It's going to take quite a while to settle. So I'll have to come back and do the second and third and whatever water washes. I'll probably end up doing about 3 or 4. And unfortunately it looks like it's going to have to sit for a long time in between each one. So I'll come back when it's ready. Well, that's settled out nicely. Didn't take very long. We've got to pour it slowly, otherwise it tries to escape. It's still a little bit colloidal. There we go, got it all. Alright, so wash number 2. There's a fair clump down there. Make sure it's all rinsed properly. See if it's going to settle faster this time. It usually does after the hydrochloric acid boil. That cleans up a lot of the rubbish. It's trying to settle, but I can see a lot of the colloidal stuff still floating. I'll have to come back. Okay, it's quite chunky now. It's gone from the fine powder to little chunks, which is good. I'll give it a hydrochloric acid boil. It doesn't have to be boiling its head off, just like a simmer will be fine. And I'll leave that on for about half an hour or so and have a look at it. Now wash number 3. Starting to clean up now, starting to settle a lot faster. Well, as I said to you, once it's had the hydrochloric acid boil, it usually looks better. Look at that. Like all granulated. Perfect. And it's not that dark black like the soot. It's more of a chocolate brown, which is what it should be. And it moves around, doesn't stay in suspension, it settles straight away. Perfect. So now I pour off this HCl and I keep it because it's still got strength. I've got a container for used HCl, and it still can be used for things like removing solder off boards, pins and things like that, which you need to do before you process them or you get tin in the solution. So why throw this away when it's still perfectly good? Now look at that, look how clumped it is. So I always keep my HCl. I try and keep all my acids if they're still got use. Now I'm going to give it some water washes. I need to try and remove every bit of the HCl because now I'm going to do a nitric boil, and if I leave any HCl in there it could form acroregia. So give it a bit of a swish around, make sure it's all nicely rinsed. It's settling perfectly because it's all chunky and big and heavy. Make sure it's rinsed thoroughly. I love the way it just stays there, none of it tries to escape. It doesn't look like a lot there, but because it's chunky it might just be nice and dense. And it can be deceiving, you know. I've had lots of powder that's weighed nearly nothing, and I've had little bits of powder that weigh quite a lot. and the owner of this is hoping for at least 2 grams. It's hard to say if that looks like 2 grams or not. You just never know. It's too hard to tell when it's in powdered form. You can try and guess, but every time I guess, it fools me. Normally 3 washes is enough, but because I'm trying to make sure that every bit of HCl is gone, I'm happy to do 4 or 5. Because I don't need any of it dissolving. I need to keep it as it is, clean it up, and then we'll dissolve it once I know I've removed any impurities during the wash process. That just settles so well. You wouldn't think it before the hydrochloric acid boil. It was black soot. Very, very fine powder. I'll do one more rinse. So 5 is a good number for me. I don't usually have any problems after doing 5. I probably wouldn't have a drama after doing 3, but just want to make sure, especially when it's not my gold I'm dealing with. Alright. Beautiful. Nice. So now I'm going to put some distilled water in there. And a pipette of nitric acid. If I can find my pipette. Not quite 5 mils. Doesn't really matter about the amount. Probably wouldn't have even needed that much. It's not like when you're making a Corrigia and you need to have the exact amount. It's just to give it a nitric bath. So now put the lid on. I'm using nice clean lids, nice clean beakers. When you're refining it and you're trying to get purity, you need everything nice and clean. So I'll put that back on the heat and put it up to about halfway. Give that a boil for a little while. Once it's boiled, give it another rinse to get rid of the acid, and that's it. And then I'm ready to re-dissolve it. Alright, so the gold has been dissolved and it's sat to cool. And in here I've got some dissolved SMB. Now what I'm going to do is filter the gold into the SMB. It doesn't matter whether you pour that into that or that into that or whatever, it makes no difference. But this way it should look pretty cool as it comes out, drip, drip, drip. They should all go brown. It should be a good effect. Something different. Maybe you guys haven't seen it before. It should start going brown in a minute. Once enough of it gets in there, it starts to concentrate in there. I can see it already getting darker. See it changing colour now, and there's brown on top starting to come out. There it goes. All on the top there's like a black gold forming on top. Now you can see it layering down here. Every time you do it, it's different. Sometimes you'll see the black drops come into the solution, other times it just goes like this. See the gold forming on top and floating on the surface. It's pretty cool. Well, this is going to take a while, so you get the idea. Just something different for you. So I'll come back when all that's drained through, and then I'll put water in there to rinse the gold juice out of the cotton ball. And It should all be hopefully settled. Let it all settle and see what we got. Oh, look how nice the gold settled. Beautiful. So now I've got to go through the wash process again. There's no point in showing you a second time. So I'll just come back when I've melted it and see what we've got. Well, I melted it up, and it's got a bit of borax on the back of it, but it's got a nice mirror shine to it. So I've got to clean it up in some sulfuric acid, but I'm just curious to the weight. I've got a new pair of scales here, the ones that don't be affected by the wind. It's got a dish around it. Turn them on first, might help. A little bit of borax isn't going to matter. 1.84. So at the worst case scenario, once the borax is off, it'll probably be 1.83. It's not too bad, close to 2 grams. We're hoping for 2, but it's not too bad. So I hope you liked this video. Hope you found it interesting. Please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one.